Hey, what's up, stock compounders? Brad here. So, big news recently, Michael Burry, huge short against Tesla. Okay, I was sent one of these articles by a friend the other day. They were thinking, oh man, maybe I should sell my Tesla shares. Like, this is huge news. And I thought to myself, when I was looking at these articles, wait a second, Michael Burry's Scion Asset Management doesn't even have $530 million under management, okay? So I want to debunk some of what's being shared in the media about Michael Burry's position against Tesla. So first thing I want to do is help you guys understand how much assets does Michael Burry currently manage. And the way to do that is to go to advisorinfo.sec.gov. We're going to click this firm tab, type Scion Asset Management, and then we can pull up this document, Form ADV Firm Brochure, okay, on Scion Asset Management. If we scroll down, item 4, we can learn a bit about their advisory business. You can see here, as of the last day of 2020, the firm managed about $471 million in net assets. Okay, so that's the best estimate I have of AUM for Michael Burry. Now, where is this 530 million number coming from? So for that, we're going to pull up the 13F filing that was just released by Scion Asset Management. Came out, I believe, just a couple of days ago for the first quarter of 2021. So if we look at this 13F information table, we can basically see everything that was held by Scion Asset Management as of March 31st, 2021. Okay. Now the number of people are throwing around here, if we scroll down and we look at Tesla, 534,411. Okay, that's the value. That's the number that these media companies are using. Now, what you have to understand here is these aren't normal stock shares, right? These are put options. Okay, if you look at this column, put/call, Michael Burry bought put options on Tesla. Okay. So we need to understand what put options are in order to get a sense for, how big of a bet Burry is making against Tesla. So essentially how put options work. When you buy a put option, you're buying a contract for 100 shares. It gives you the right to sell 100 shares at a certain price before a certain date. Okay, it's called the strike price and the expiration of the option. Now, the tricky thing with, Michael Burry's 13F here is all we know is that Michael Burry bought 8,001 contract of put options against Tesla. Okay. Now, like I said, each contract represents 100 shares. So if you multiply that by 100, 800,100 shares are being controlled through these put options. And the way they arrived at value, according to the SEC, that's what's dictated, how you have to file your 13F filings, is they multiply these shares that are controlled by the options contracts times the stock price, okay, on March 31st, 2021, which was $667. So $667 times 800,100 shares gives you that 534 million. Okay, but I thought of an exercise. How little money could I spend in order to get this same number in the value column? Okay, assuming I was a fund manager, had to file a 13F. So the cheapest options I could buy, put options, they'd be a very short duration, and it'd be a very low strike price. Okay, so I looked this up. I could purchase put options with a $200 strike price that expire 2 days from now on March 21st, 2021. They cost 1 cent per share, okay? Because in order for those to be worth anything, the price of Tesla would have to drop from 561 today to less than $200 on Friday, 2 days from now. And then what I could do is buy those shares in the open market, less than $200, and sell them for $200, and I could pocket that difference. That would be how I would, profit from put options. So with 1 cent a share, I could spend $8,000, okay, to get this value of $534 million on my 13F filing. So, we have no idea what kind of put options Burry bought, what strike prices, and what duration those put options had. So we really have very little information in terms of how high a conviction bet this was for Michael Burry, because there are so many different strike prices that we could buy with put options. There are so many different durations that we can buy with put options. So we have very little information. Now, if I had to guess, based on the fact that Scion manages, $470 odd million, I could see Burry putting like a 5% bet on Tesla put options, which would be, what would that be? About 25 million as a bet against Tesla. Now, we also have to keep in mind, this bet isn't being made in isolation, okay? You can see there's a bunch of call options in here as well. We have call options for Google, we have call options for Facebook, and a number of other companies as well. So even if this bet against Tesla doesn't work out, if the whole market rises, but say Google and Facebook happen to rise faster than Tesla, Burry could still profit from that spread, okay? So we have to realize this bet is not being made in isolation. There's a lot of people speculating that a big part of the macro component of this bet is that in a rising inflation environment, Burry thinks that some of these, fast-growing tech companies with really strong balance sheets are going to appreciate faster than Tesla, which doesn't have the same strength in their balance sheet. So, that's been thrown around. But again, it's really just a reminder when we're looking at specific bets that these great investors are making, we really have to look at the big picture of their portfolio. So those are a few things I wanted to share. And really the big takeaway here, guys, don't believe everything you see in the media, right? I mean, there's so many different articles that are really just anchoring to this $530 million of notional value that's being represented on the 13F. And it really doesn't give us any kind of sense for how big the bet was, okay? Again, I could have spent $8,000 to get that same notional value on a 13F filing. So it's really important to understand, the details about, how do you evaluate these bets that are being made rather than, just reading headlines and taking that at face value. I mean, Reuters I consider a fairly reputable source of, business news. And they're making the same mistake here. There's no value to placing that $530 million on here. It doesn't mean anything, okay? And I'm confused, quite frankly, about why the SEC would, advise that that's how investors have to represent their call options and their put options, because there's really no link to reality in doing it that way. So, and of course, you've got people on Twitter saying, it's 40% of his total portfolio. That's just absolute nonsense. I think what they did there is they just added up all of the values here in the value column and divided this 534 million by the total value. But again, it's not tied to reality because this is not what Burry is putting up for these positions. Unfortunately, again, we don't know how much he's betting on these positions. And it's could very well be a number of different put options with different strike prices, different expiration dates. So there's a lot to speculate about here. But the one thing I can say for sure is that it's not a $530 million bet. It's probably not more than a 5% bet of total assets, I would imagine. So don't get wrapped up. Don't get wrapped up in this. Obviously, the media companies, they see 530 million, they latch onto it because that's really the only number that they can grab out of these filings. So you got to keep your eyes open out there and take a critical look at what the media is feeding you. That's kind of the takeaway from today. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about Burry's current portfolio, with the puts on Tesla, the calls on Google and Facebook. I've stopped tracking Burry nearly as much as I used to, just because he's doing so much. And it seems like he's really focused on kind of short-term bets, which is not my game. I want to, buy a business that's going to compound over the next decade or two, and let that management team compound my money for me rather than making a bunch of short-term bets. So, but it'll be interesting to see how it pans out for Burry. It's probably already worked out really well, considering how much Tesla has taken a hit. I think it was like $900 a share sometime in the first quarter, at the peak in the first quarter, and now it's $559. So I think it's dropped like a third in just a few months. So it's possible Burry is completely cashed out of these put options already. So anyway, guys, just wanted to bring some truth to the situation with Michael Burry and his Tesla short. That's all I got for today, guys. Thanks for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Take care.